Now to Fly right side. Fly with a jumper. First shot of the night. Clean as a whistle for Fly Williams.
That's Fly.
It's like a storybook, a fairy tale. People know the name. He was one of the best ever out of Brooklyn.
Wow.
One of the best ever out of Brooklyn.
Legends of the playground exist in every city, documented by incredible stories that grow and grandiose with each telling. The people who saw them swear by them. Everyone else just has to take their word. One of the most legendary of them all is the Fly. James Williams grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, the youngest of 6 children. He came up in a rough environment, one where you always had to watch your back. A member of a poverty-stricken family led by a single mother who worked long hours to make ends meet.
My mom, we were very poor. We had nothing. My mother worked right there on Newport and Watkin Street. She used to do record albums right there down the street in Brownsville. We were just a poor family, trying to make it.
A young Williams was left to run wild in the streets. If trouble didn't find him, he found trouble.
Oh yeah, I was a menace. I had a great childhood. You let me tell it. And I was a little devilish little baby, a little kid that got spoiled. I did all sorts of stuff.
But he had a natural charisma, a flair for entertaining, and his favorite stages became the basketball courts. There was the famed Rucker Park, or his local playground, aka the Hole.
Oh man, that was some place to play, man. All the projects came, man. There were like 2,000 people there. It might have been 500. But yeah, we got a hole and we gave it a name, and we kept the reputation of, you couldn't come in there and beat us, I'll tell you that.
Wherever Williams was playing was where you wanted to be. Described as a player who not only had the skill, but also the competitive drive. Yet in the confines of organized basketball, you can only be so exciting. However, on the playground, there were no rules. Score by any means necessary. Bust out moves that would have officials crying witchcraft. And talk your talk, as long as you can back it up. Williams could back it up. He would go toe-to-toe with the best ball players in New York, adding their moves to his own endless repertoire. His name grew around the city. Graffiti started popping up. Though it didn't say James, it said Fly, a nickname whose origin has been a topic of dispute. Some reports have it as an homage to Curtis Superfly Mayfield. Williams said it was given to him in his youth by some girls, later adding it was due to his style and the way he carried himself.
Where did the name Fly Williams come from?
The style of play I played, and I was a clean, I just dressed, man. I was something else, man. And the guys on the street gave me a name.
Okay.
In Brownsville.
It even migrated from Fly to The Fly, with the way he could ascend through the air. It didn't matter the story, the nickname stuck, but he was still a young teen, wrestling with the dichotomy of living in poverty while simultaneously being a local celebrity. Fly was a star on the James Madison High basketball team. He averaged 28 points and took them to a division title, but that stardom didn't carry over to the classroom. Coupled with the allure and necessity of the street life, Fly stopped going to school and was expelled altogether.
And then I was the only man in the house. So...
There was a lot of pressure on you.
There was no pressure. I did what I needed to do.
I had a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I did what I needed to do.
It looked like he was on a one-way path to becoming a statistic. Enter Glen Springs Academy. A family friend named Rodney Parker saw an ad for a brand new prep school about 4 hours upstate, Glen Springs Academy. Fly Williams had a golden ticket in the form of an orange basketball. The people who cared knew how special he could be. His mother paid the tuition, and in the fall of 1971, Fly Williams was in Watkins Glen. Now Glen Springs was no basketball powerhouse. After all, they had just opened, but they wanted to be. So they welcomed a few inner city kids who just needed an opportunity. Fly was the cream of the crop. The coaches had never seen a player like him. His skills honed on the courts of New York made him unbeatable in one-on-one. The 18-year-old could play for any college in the country, and most of those colleges were calling. And with Glen Springs helping Williams improve his academics, he wouldn't have to worry about eligibility either. And it was a fair trade-off, because with Fly leading the way, Glen Springs had become that basketball powerhouse. They played with energy and flair. Opponents had no answer. And sometimes, Fly was so good, it got him in trouble. Fly reportedly once faked out an opponent so bad, a fight broke out. Williams briefly traded the basketball for a folding chair. Luckily, coaches stopped him, and the game resumed, only for Fly to drop 32 in an easy win. And waiting for him outside were kids looking for an autograph. Near the end of the season, they took on Thomas More High out of Connecticut, widely considered one of the best prep teams in the country. Williams dropped 25 to lead Glen Springs to an improbable win. Fly Williams was a superstar and a high school graduate, but it hadn't been without its issues. Fly was as unpredictable as they come. When he was on, he was on. But if he lost interest, you lost Fly. Leaving the gym in the middle of a possession to get a drink of water, or just sitting down on the court, became normal behavior for the star. The line between entertainer and undisciplined was becoming more blurred. Plenty of schools were interested in Fly the player, but few wanted to deal with everything that came with it. However, there was one school and one coach who were able to look past his antics. Assistant Leonard Hamilton over at Austin Peay spent a lot of time with Williams, not only recruiting him, but also getting to know him. And Hamilton was clever. During the Dapper Dan Classic, when dozens of scouts were trying to get some FaceTime with Williams, Hamilton was 2 steps ahead, posing as his cousin and making sure all recruiters went through him. No one talked to Fly, and Hamilton used their selling points to figure out the best deal for Williams. Fly didn't know much about Austin Peay or Clarksville, Tennessee, but that was perfect. The less distractions, the better.
I go down that flight, they pick me from the airport. People so nice. They take me on the campus. I hear the jets. They say, look up. I look up in the sky. I said, welcome to Clarksville, Fly.
Yeah, skywriting, they wrote your name up in the
I
sky.
said,
Wow.
this is where I'm going.
Little known Austin Peay had just signed one of the top recruits in the nation, and he had only been playing basketball for a few years. Baseball was his first love, but people told him he was too big to play. Initially, he didn't even like basketball, but when the top pro and local players were coming around and holding camps, Williams came around too, and would build his chops going up against some of the best players that basketball had to offer. Out in Clarksville, Williams was a star upon arrival. Fans had never seen someone like him. They clung to his stories of his inner city upbringing. He set himself apart on the court with his play and his fashion choices. In just his 3rd game, he dropped 42 points. No one could stay in front of the Fly. He made the game look effortless. That 42-point outing was just his opener. The lanky scorer peppered in a couple 51-point games as well. Fly would set a freshman scoring record, averaging nearly 30 points in year 1, the number 5 scorer in the country. The Fly is open. Let's go Peay. Austin Peay had no hardware in their trophy case, but that changed with Fly Williams. The freshman led them to the best record in the Ohio Valley Conference, capturing their first conference championship and earning the Govs their first NCAA tournament berth in school history. Williams dropped 26 and the game winner in a tournament opening defeat of Jacksonville. He put up another 26 in the semis versus Kentucky, yet it ended in defeat, but as of 2025, remains the only Sweet 16 appearance in Governors history. Williams' sophomore season was much of the same. He was a top 3 scorer in the country. He was named the Conference Player of the Year, and he led Austin Peay to their 2nd consecutive regular season conference title. They made a return to the big dance, yet it was over quick. It was Notre Dame versus Fly. He didn't care how covered he was. He kept hoisting up shots. His teammates kept giving him the ball, and the Govs got steamrolled. Up to this point, Fly's Austin Peay career had been polarizing. A generational talent with little self-control. The same antics from high school were present in college. It got him suspended on quite a few occasions. And even his own teammates saw him as a ticking time bomb, knowing he would blow up eventually, yet never knowing when. But Fly Williams was box office. Austin Peay was drawing such large crowds, they had to build a new gym. It was to be the house that Fly built. But would Fly be there for the housewarming? Williams had 2 years of college eligibility left, or at least he was supposed to. He, along with many other players, had taken the SAT to confirm college eligibility. It turned out the Ohio Valley Conference required the ACT, and the NCAA wasn't budging on that. So Fly's eligibility was in serious jeopardy. But did he even need college? The pro ranks were knocking down his door. The NBA and the ABA wanted Fly now. The Denver Rockets were talking 7 figures. The people around Fly convinced him to apply for hardship so he could also put his name into the NBA draft. Fly did. Then at the last minute, he changed his mind. He liked Austin Peay, and he liked the way he was treated. Then the worst domino effect kicked off. Through no fault of his own, Fly was incorrectly admitted to Austin Peay on the basis of his unaccepted SAT. The only way he could maybe stay enrolled was summer school. Around the same time of this ruling, Williams was paid to play in a professional tournament, effectively forfeiting his amateur status. So the college route was closed, and he had taken his name out of the NBA draft. He'd have to wait a year to re-enter. Then over in the ABA, Denver had undergone big personnel change. They had drafted Fly 2nd overall in the '74 draft, but the $1 million offer was taken off the table. Fly continued playing at the New York playgrounds. He was still a main attraction and a living legend, but at just 21 years old, he was already a cautionary tale. Kids were terrified of ending up like Fly, and most frustrating was that the people that tried their hardest to help him felt he was treating his immeasurable potential and life-changing situation as one big joke. But Fly seemed content spending the rest of his life on the outdoor courts. He kept playing throughout the summer. He dropped 50 points against a young Moses Malone and Len Elmore. But Fly was still somewhat seriously pursuing the pros. He got a new agent, who soon found out that Fly was a tough sell. Coaches in the pro ranks wouldn't even entertain a conversation. Yet in the ABA, Denver still held his rights. Fly and the franchise were far apart on a contract, but the natural entertainer, with his brash attitude and exciting play, personified ABA basketball. So Denver shopped him. The newly formed Spirits of St. Louis were interested. He impressed in tryouts, and St. Louis got him for a bargain. He was once a $1 million player, yet mismanagement and Fly's reputation had him in a Spirits uniform for a much lower amount. Some reports were saying $250,000, but the Spirits GM has revealed that the gamble only cost them about $35,000.
Pro basketball returns to St. Louis. The Spirits bring the ABA's red, white, and blue ball, its three-point shot, and a lot of high hopes to a city accustomed to great sports teams. The Spirits owners have a message for that city. They'll bring exciting basketball to St. Louis in record time.
It was the same song and dance in the pros. With Fly Williams, you got the good and the bad. High-volume scoring, mesmerizing dribble moves, and seemingly impossible shots, mixed with ball hogging, hot dogging, and the same hair-trigger temper that would see him fight his own teammates in the layup line before a game. In the beginning, Williams was an exciting crowd pleaser who showed incredible potential. By the end of the season, he was riding the bench. The ABA was a more relaxed league, but teams still wanted to win. Fly was a black hole. When he got the ball, it became 1-on-5, and coaches had no luck offering him direction. But there weren't many people on the team that coaches were getting through to. The Spirits are famously known as one of the most impressive, yet undisciplined teams of all time. No member more infamous than Marvin Bad News Barnes. Just like Fly, he was immensely talented, yet never able to get out of his own way. Naturally, the two were drawn to each other. And this is where Fly's life really started to take a dark turn. Now he had money to go along with his celebrity. He and Barnes were inseparable for all the wrong reasons. Flashy cars, pretty girls, and a relationship held together by an avalanche of white powder.
We didn't care about the game. We wondered where the next party was at, where that candy at, where them girls at.
And Williams skated by on natural talent. Rod Thorne became coach in 1975. He had no patience for Fly's antics, and also just didn't see all the hype, nor the effort. Williams was promptly released. It was a tough cut, because the enigmatic Fly was such a fan favorite. Now his pro career seemingly over at the ripe age of 22. Fly remained around his teammates, except he was a provider, not a player. The Candyman, if you will. He hoped for an ABA return until the league folded. There was still some NBA hope, with the Sixers drafting him in the 9th round in '76, but he didn't stick. The Braves gave him a serious look too, but team after team signed off, partly because Williams was only Fly on one side of the ball, and partly because the headache that came with the highlights just wasn't worth it. With the door shut on his pro career, Fly bounced around the semi-pro ranks, going all over the world, yet never staying with any team for too long, again seeing his temper lead to the burning of a lot of bridges.
I mean, I had some attitude. My attitude was terrible, man. My attitude reflects my life.
Okay.
You know, attitude is big. People don't realize it, but it reflects on your life, man.
Yeah.
But the paper-thin Williams was always entertaining.
Fight the bear. I fought the bear at halftime of game for $25,000. They asked me one time in Memphis, I think it was, would you fight Victor the Bear? Yeah, I'm from Brownsville, man. I'm fighting. What are you talking about? He was 8'11", 1,075 pounds. He was on Sonny Carson. He won.
He won?
Every time I try to grab a leg, he move it back.
By the 80s, there was nowhere that was interested in the services of Fly Williams. Yet his playground legend grew, allegedly scoring 100 points in the most unconventional way, 45 with one team, then 55 more after switching teams. But at the same time, Fly was falling further into the drug life. He went from using to selling. The players he used to battle with in his youth tried to help him, but it was to no avail. In 1987, Williams almost lost his life, shot by an undercover cop during a robbery gone wrong, fortunately surviving, yet losing a lung and a kidney. By the early 2000s, Williams seemed to have turned things around, running tournaments and speaking to children about the dangers of drugs, and preaching that they don't make the same mistakes as he did.
How was that working with, disadvantaged youth?
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
Because I was them.
Oh, good.
It was easy for me to communicate with them. It was an easy job because I lived like them one time.
His hometown Brooklyn Nets recognized him for his work in the community. He was even ranked the second best streetball player of all time, behind only the GOAT. However, in 2017, Williams was busted as the ringleader of a major drug operation, allegedly providing drugs to the now adults he had once mentored all those years earlier. Yet even as a drug dealer, he did have some ethics and morals. A guilty plea led to him serving 6 years in Attica before being released on parole, with little more information on the streetball legend at the time of this video. So why didn't it work for Fly Williams? Of course, some blame needs to be placed on him. As his friend Ronald Jones would say, he had issues with discipline and authority. But others that were close to him point to his youth. Fly was alone in the streets. He got beat up often. He learned to be on constant alert and always reacted with aggression. But that's the unfortunate truth of the less fortunate. Their childhood is spent in a state of survival, always ready to defend themselves. It was Fly versus the world from his earliest days. There was a sense of belonging in basketball and the streets, but those two can't coincide. The latter won out.
Yeah, remember, I was a bad man on that court, man. Well, the streets took that. The streets did that to me, right? Well, I just went full-fledged the other way. To the streets. I tell you, I married the streets. I married the game. In the 9 to 5 wasn't gonna work for me.
So you gravitated to
the streets.
To the streets.
I married the game, man.
And a potential superstar became a misguided legend with a story that only words can tell.
See, I didn't know how good I was because I was just having fun.
And that was your outlet, it seems like.
Yeah, it was just my sanctuary.
Yeah.
Get between the lines, Everything goes away.
But that's it for today's episode on Fly Williams. Hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. If you liked it, here's a couple other videos on some players who were able to realize their pro dream. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.